Alright, everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So we're going to get around to at least covering the Shonen Jump stuff today. It is way too hot and sweltering in this room today. So I'm going to skip read-throughs until next weekend when it hopefully cools down a little bit. Because like I mentioned before, I want to have like a fan running, kind of like have too much background noise and stuff on these videos. There's still going to be a lot of good stuff coming your way. So if you haven't already, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Without further ado, let's dive into it, and hopefully I did not charge my tablet, but hopefully it will last long enough for me to get through these two chapters. But let's get into it with Akane-Banashi, Story 173, Different Standards, with story by Yuki Tsunaga, art by Takamasa Moe, with Rakugo supervision by Kikuhiko Hayashiya. Then translation Stephen Paul, lettering Sneeron. So we pick up where we left off last time, like raucous applause for Karashi's performance. And yeah, before he joined the school, he was praised for his creativity, but his skill as a performer was not particularly high. The way he adapts classic Rakugo makes up for his lack of training. Now he's added his creative flavor to the technique he gained through Zenza training. He's evolved as a Rakugoka, and this is the result for Karashi Sanmate. And the announcer guy's like, "Bish, now let's send it to the judge." He's like, "A word. I hate to interrupt the proceedings." And you have, fucking glasses, bro, I cannot remember his name, going, "But I'd like to clarify one question with him so I can properly judge the performance." The announcer's like, "What would that be?" In the story, the boss character says they're in the business of selling information. I wanted to ask about that. And you see Karashi grabbing the mic and going, "The modern word for information, Joho, didn't appear until the later Meiji era. But being tied to a raft and banished downstream was a punishment of the Edo era. So we are addressing the mismatch of words and setting." He's like, "Correct. If you knew what you were doing, why did you do it?" It's like, "To make the reason he could see through the boy's lies clear to the audience." It's like, "But that lowers the quality of the story." It's because suppose we have different standards then. In my opinion, it actually increases it. Yes, logical consistency and thoroughness are important, but there's no quality that trumps ease of understanding. The goal of mass entertainment for the common person is to reach as wide an audience as possible. And you see him just like shifting his glasses as he goes, "That will do, you may continue." It's like, "Much appreciated, sir. Now let's get back to the judging. The scores for Karashi Sanmate are 95 points, 96 points, 87 points. That's a total of 278. And it's going to unseat our current leader Hikaru Arakawa at 276 points, putting Karashi Sanmate into first place. Now, let's hear the judge's commentary." It's like, "What do you think, Master Shomei?" He like pulls back his sleeve as he grabs a microphone. He goes, "After our back and forth, I understand your intent with the story. However, it does not suit me. Words can change depending on the direction and intent of the story. With Okiku's plates, I was able to overlook the deviation because of its modern rearrangement. But a false classic is valued specifically for its ability to evoke the traditional classics, and your approach thus creates some unnecessary friction. However, that point only stands because your Rakugo possessed a certain level of craftsmanship that it shares with the classics. I'll also point out your kabuki scene within the story. That is a precise, demanding technique, and given the story structure, its use as setup for a punchline later required considerable skill on your part. You performed brilliantly. Once I understood our difference in ideals, I lessened the penalty I assessed to you. Ultimately, the added points outweigh the demerits. That is all. Yeah, thank you very much, Master Shomei." And the other glasses guy is like, "Interesting. So you only asked the question because you recognized the kid had the goods." So that was an excellent review from the Rakugo world's premier craftsman. For someone trying to create their own Rakugo, that's a huge feather in the cap. Well done, Karashi Sanmate. He goes, "My grade from Master Shomei was quite good, so that hurdle's cleared for now. And today's feedback," he thinks back to Isho saying, "I thought it was quite well done." It's like, "Wasn't lip service this time, I don't think." And Hikaru's like, "Congrats on your temporary first place." It's like, "What? What's that look for?" It's like, "Nothing. Just thinking about what a good loser you're being." "Darn, did my best. No hard feelings, right?" It's like, "Shut it, you. This guy ain't that mature. Of course I'm angry and frustrated. But I ain't getting anywhere if I don't accept the results. Plus, my competition ain't over yet." It's like, "Yeah, that's true." You have signed with the Osaka Street Market with a, "Huh? Why did you want to be a Rakugoka?" It's like, to her it was just a bit of idle chat on the roadside, and I was the one who made the decision. I've got no regrets, of course. But the thing is, the one who really dragged me into this world was you. I don't just want to win. I want to beat you at your best. And you see Akane just walking out, just completely oblivious to the other two. It's like, so go on and show us your so-called true growth. So I guess quick thoughts on the chapter. Again, I don't think Karashi's performance was as good as the manga's trying very hard to sell me on. I don't think, it really works with like all the whole like Shomi trying to like tell you like exactly what made it so well and like talking about like, his strength and stuff. I feel like that kind of highlights the weaknesses of, again, I've talked about this multiple times before, it kind of highlights the weakness of adapting Rakugo to a manga format where you have to kind of have Shomi kind of tell you like what exactly the strengths of Karashi's performance was, like why it succeeded, etc., etc. And while I think that really did give us some good insight into his character, like, he is a very fair judge, as long as he understands the reasons for something, he's not going to penalize a person for deviating from like, what the standards are. And he will judge something on its own merit, like, he's not going to hold like a grudge or be petty or anything like that. He's going to try to be as objective as possible with regards to performance strengths and things. So I did appreciate that, despite the whole like rocky start of like, him saying, oh, it didn't suit me, I was able to overlook in this other one, but I think it stood out in yours. But once you got the answer, he's kind of like, oh, all right, I accept that reasoning. Here's what else I thought of your performance. Like, it was very, very fair. So I like that as like a good insight into his character. But again, I like all the stuff with Karashi being like trying to set him up as a rival, set him up as having beaten Hikaru. Again, I don't think neither of the performances really blew me away. It's like second, third place, whoever gets it, I don't think really fundamentally makes much of a difference to me in the long term. But it really is going to depend on what happens with Akane, because I feel like this is setting up for her to take first place. Because if she does score third or lower, I think I would be very shocked. But again, hopefully her performance is a little bit more invigorating, or one that gets me a little bit more invested in it compared to the prior two. But we'll see what happens with the next chapter. So like I mentioned, Spy Family and Akane-Banashi videos will be out today. I will get back to read through sometime next weekend once the weather has hopefully cooled down a little bit, so look forward to that. In the meantime, a lot of good videos getting to the channel this weekend. So like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, this is Ash. I'll talk to you all later.